Hi guys. Hi. Waving to everybody. Hello. Wave, wave. Hi. Trying to wave to everybody. Okay, we've got a few people, so I'll go ahead and camera around. Hi everyone. Happy Sunday. Hope you guys have had a good day so far. We're just kind of hanging out today. But alright, so week 2, who read their pages? I did, and it was a really good section. But we'll go ahead and get started. And you guys let me know if you can't hear me or anything. If you have questions, y'all let me know. Alright, so this second part of the first chapter was all about pretty much physical health and taking care of our children's bodies and brains. She talked a lot about, this was written 100 years ago, so a lot of the things she talked about, I did, yay, I'm glad you read too. She talked about, as far as they knew, healthy standards and stuff at the time, so a lot of it, we'll just talk regarding our time period and not 100 years ago. Okay, so let's see, conditions of healthy brain activity. Last week we talked about what our children, or what we should not do for our children, and this week we're going to talk about the things we should do. And she talks about, first of all, exercising our brains as well as our bodies, because it's just as important to keep our brain healthy as our bodies. When we fail to exercise our brains, it gets flabby and loses sharpness, just like any other part of our body. And I kind of laughed at the part where she talked about those people who we think aren't all there, kind of eccentric and goofy people and seem like they don't use their brain all the time, and she blamed it on not using their brain, which I thought was funny. Does anyone out love our choice to follow Charlotte Mason yet? Hubby is doing the opposite. I'm not sure I understand the question. Oh, your husband is not interested pretty much in what you're trying to create in your home? Is that kind of what you're asking? Hi, hello everyone. We had a question, so I'm waiting to see if I'm understanding it right before I answer, or if anyone else has a good answer. Yeah, hubby is doing the opposite. I'll wait and see what she says before I answer, because I don't want to answer the wrong question. Husband says he is on board, but then randomly does things contrary. I would say that, that's kind of how it is in our house too. I have these high ideals and standards, and my husband doesn't always, he likes the ideas that I bring to him, but he doesn't always do things the way that I think he should do them. I think he should do them, but that's just kind of the way things are, I guess, and we do the best we can. Does anybody else have an answer to that? I think as women, we kind of, we're just so different from men, and we have our big, expectations and how we want our home to look, but then we're married, so, we have to make room for husband too. That's so true, yeah. Is that the same person answering? Yes, okay. I don't know if I answered your question well. If anyone else has a good answer to that, y'all please chime in and let us know. But yeah, it's the same in our house. And I also have 4 boys, and they're not so, what's the word, romanticized about education. They're not so, it's not as beautiful and lovely the way I see it to them. It's a learning process for everyone, right? Yeah, that's true. It is, and it is a process. It's you know, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So we're all kind of learning. And we've been married for 13 years almost, and we still are trying to, you know, balance our different ideas of what our home life should look like. And it's always, I won't say a struggle, though it feels like it sometimes, but it's always just an organic, you know, where you give a little, take a little, and I don't know, that's how it is at our home anyway. Anyways, anyone else is welcome to answer that if you would like to. I did my best. I hope that was somewhat helpful. I don't know. Okay, anyways, so we are talking about brain exercise, and we don't want to be kooky people because we never use our brain, and we don't want our kids to be weirdos because they never use their brain either. So this part made me laugh because that's pretty much what she said, but much more elegantly. Hi everyone. She said, do not let the children pass a day without distinct efforts, intellectual, moral, volitional. Let them brace themselves to understand. Let them compel themselves to do and to bear, and let them do right at the sacrifice of ease and pleasure. And this for many higher reasons, but in the first and lowest place, that the mere physical organ of mind and will may grow vigorous with work. So sometimes doing the things we don't necessarily want to do, but we need to get them done because they're important. One of my questions in the questions that I posted on my blog was, let's see, where is it? No, that's not it. Oh, I'll find it in a minute. Okay, so rest is the next section. Rest is just as important as work for the brain. I think we all know this. We don't want to overstimulate our children's brains or any other part of the body for that matter. So rest is just as important as working our brain. Do your kids still take naps? Because mine don't. Not even my littlest guy. Sometimes he'll fall asleep on the way to football, but he's kind of outgrown naps, I guess. But they do sleep good at night, and they all sleep through the night. I know some people have trouble with their kids sleeping through the night, and that can be hard on a mama as much as the kids. So, but rest is important is what she says. Hi. Hello, everybody. Okay, then she goes on to rest after meals. And it's important that our kids need to kind of let their food digest in their tummies before we put them right straight to work or send them outside to play really hard. We kind of have to find a happy medium for that. We usually take breaks after meals or do something like play inside. I usually don't send them straight to work just because after you eat, I usually get sleepy and I'd be tired if I was trying to read books and work. Let's see, my 5-month-old naps 3 to 4 times a day. Wow. My 2-year-old takes an afternoon nap after lunch. That's good. That's awesome. My 5-year-old is done with naps. Yeah, same here. But my 3-year-old naps kind of every other day and baby naps every day. So some people are still having good naps. That's good. I thought the resting after meals was interesting to me because I like to go walk after I eat a big meal. I think that is a moderate physical activity. I think walking is good because, hey Erica, I think walking is fine after a meal. I feel like that's not like vigorous. I don't know. I'm not a medical professional, but that's what she said, and that was her recommendation, not to like send them out to get all rough and tumbly outside or to put them straight to book work. They need to kind of find a moderate activity, which I wrote down, maybe handicrafts or music or educational videos or a nap. If your kids will nap, that sounds good to me. I'd like to take a nap after every meal. Let's see. Just tried to swaddle my 20-month-old. Huh? It doesn't look like he's going down. I've tried to swaddle a big baby before and yeah, it doesn't work. But I love to swaddle the babies when they're so tiny and you just tuck them all in around the edges. It only lasts for like a few months, but that's one of my favorite things about the newborn stage. I also love the idea, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have worn a white shirt. I'm having trouble seeing your words on here. I also love the idea of changing up the type of learning to stimulate different areas of the brain to avoid fatigue, like math followed by reading, and physical whatever stimulates differently. Yes, which was the next activity, the next section, change of occupation, which I thought was pretty ingenious. Going from math, which works one part of the brain, to something else that works a different part of the brain, which I don't know if you guys read my summary of the pages we read this week, but I talked about the blank math stare. Have you guys experienced the blank math stare? I have. My oldest used to give it to me all the time, and it's just like they've like come to the end of their brain power and they can no longer think, and that would be a good indicator that it's time to change occupation and go do something else. So she talked about moving from math facts to the stories in history, that's a good transition. So you want to switch from one area of the brain working to a different area of the brain working so that they're not just fatigued in that area. We have a good nap after lunch. Our daughter is 5. Wow, that's awesome. Yay! I'm happy to see you. Yes, love that part. Okay. Alright. On to the next section. She talked about nourishment, which I think we've learned a lot in the past 100 years about what's best for our bodies. Although I will say there's a lot of different information out there regarding what's best for your bodies, and some people have different food sensitivities than others, and you know, there's lots of allergies, and so that is definitely a do the best thing for your family kind of thing, because every kid is different, every family's different, and we can't just say you should be eating this. But I would just say we start with whole foods that are natural foods and not a lot of processed stuff, not a bunch of junk, and then you know, we each go from there with what works for our families. Was this the section where she talked about having cocoa to drink every day? She was talking about what's good. I'm not sure where it was, but she talked about cocoa every day. And I just thought, I bet their cocoa wasn't full of sugar like ours is now, but I wouldn't mind cocoa every day. Oh yeah, it's the next section. Concerning meals. Our children must be well fed, which we just talked about. Whole food should be the foundation of your diet. And Charlotte Mason recommends cocoa every day as the best drink for children. Promoting habits of eating well will set our children up for a lifetime of success in this department, or we hope it will anyway. There's so many temptations out there with fast food, but we try to at least create good habits to where they want the good food and the real food over the snacky stuff most of the time. Okay, talk at meals. This topic is an important one. No pains should be spared to make the hours of meeting around the family table the brightest hours of the day. And I thought this was pretty impressive that she discussed this 100 years ago when children were supposed to be seen and not heard. You know, but she was encouraging parents to talk to their kids at the table. And I have a book recommendation again this week. This is my only one this week, but it's Sally Clarkson again, The Life-Giving Table. I don't think I made my way all the way through. Well, yes, I did. I have dog ears on almost every page. So I guess I did read it all the way through. But this one is a good one about gathering your family around the table and having fellowship around the table as a family. Do you guys have any like traditions that you do around the table for every meal to make it more warm and cozy and friendly for your kids so that you're like making memories? I know we sometimes will light candles, and that kind of brings the boys to the table, and they like to tell stories when the candles are lit. And the first time I ever did that, my boys just loved it. And then the next time they pulled the candles out, and my second born told me, "Mama, this can be like our romantic time." And I just thought that was the sweetest. So we pull out the candles and we have the romantic time around the table, and they love it. And it gets them to talking too. So, okay, people are talking. So let me go back. I realized last week that I missed some people's comments after I finished. So I don't want to miss anybody today. We have 3 boys, and I feel like we need to take out a mortgage just to keep them fed. Oh my gosh, I feel your pain. My oldest is 12, almost 13, and this is like just the beginning. And already I'm like, I don't know how we're gonna do it when they're all that big or bigger. I don't know what we're gonna do. They're gonna have to get jobs or something, because they eat a lot. I wonder if the cocoa was a way to get the kids drinking milk. Back then, my mom recalls avoiding milk because it was canned and horribly flavored. Oh, I bet that is true. That is okay. I didn't know that, but I bet that's why. So to get them to drink the milk, they would put the cocoa in it, and then kids come and drink it. That's ingenious. I find it difficult to keep the menu varied like she suggests. How can someone change the menu every day and not have the same thing for 14 days in a row? You must have been the one that asked that. You were my only question today beforehand, but I did see your question. I was gonna discuss it with you. I would not say that we have 14 different meals every 2 weeks. We just don't. We do eat a lot of chicken in various ways. We eat a lot of ground meat in various ways, but we definitely don't do 14 different meals for 2 weeks in a row. If you do, can you please share your secrets? Anyone out there? I don't know. I don't know how people do that. I can't do it. I will tell you, I've made many a meal plan spreadsheets, like to print out. I've made hundreds of them, and I never stick to them. So I'm not the person to answer that question. If you're good at meal planning, you just step on in and let me know. That's a cute idea with the candles. Okay, let's see if anybody else spoke. Hi, Serena. Okay, so moving on from meals, unless anyone else has an ingenious way to meal plan, I say it's about variety of nutrients and hidden healthy add-ins under the radar is the way to go. That's a good idea. Now, I will say, like, we do swap out veggies. Like if we have chicken one time, the next time we have chicken, I'll try to do a different vegetable, or I don't know. There's a million ways to cook ground meat, right? Lasagna and spaghetti and tacos and taco salad, and I don't know. I love to meal plan, but that many different meals, yeah. Oh, that reminds me. There's emails, which we are subscribed to that. I'm not very good at keeping up with it, but they do meal plans for you, and they even make a big fat grocery list for you that you can, I don't remember, you pay like quarterly, I think, but they'll send you meals every week. They send them a week at a time. They have the whole meal plan, and they have the grocery list for you, so you already have your grocery list planned out and everything, and then you just follow the recipes. So that's an idea. We are subscribed to that, but I'm not good at following it because I just kind of have my few staples that I rotate in and out. I do usually stick to my meal plans because we have a very tight budget and we have to, or there won't be enough. That is true too. Although I'm not good at sticking to the meal plan. We don't go like extra grocery shopping usually between paychecks. Like once we get groceries, that's pretty much it. Unless we just are out of like butter and I need to go get butter. But for the most part, we're the same, except I'm not good at sticking to the meal plan. I make it up as I go. We fly by the seat of our pants. Okay, anyway, so moving on from the meals, I told you about the book, and then this also, I did not read this one. This goes with it, and I think this was written by her children, a couple of her children. This is the book I'm talking about, The Life-Giving Table, and then this is like the complimentary add-on Bible study edition, I guess, of it. Discussion type questions, I think. I didn't read that one. Let's see. I usually end up repeating some meals each week. Me too. I repeat chicken Alfredo a lot because everybody loves it and it's really good, so we do that. Okay, variety in meals we just talked about, and I giggled when she said, but give them variety, do not let it be everlasting tapioca. I thought that was funny. We don't eat tapioca pudding here. Do you guys eat tapioca pudding? We don't eat pudding really, but anyways, I understood what she meant. Don't repeat the same things over and over again. Okay, then she goes on to talk about the air we breathe, and if you live near or in a big city like me, it's kind of hard to get super fresh air, but you just do what you can with what you have, I think. Let's see. I haven't been looking at my questions over here. These are the day 2 readings. There is a park nearby that we try to go to at least once or twice a week to kind of get out of the house and see something different. So, I mean, that's an option. I think most cities have parks that they maintain and try to keep for the community. So if you don't have a big yard or you're not on a farm like most of us, then I guess we just do the best we can. Where do you guys go? I'd like to hear what you guys do to take your kids outside, get them fresh air so that they're invigorated, as she says. Good quality breathing air is paramount for this continual function going on in our bodies, meaning breathing. And then she talks about the children needing to go outside every day. She recommends, right here she said an hour daily, but later on she said like up to 6 hours a day. We're not outside 6 hours a day, but we do try to get outside. I usually end up repeating some meals each week. Oh, I read that one already. Okay, we have a trail and walk to the park. That's nice. That's convenient that you can just walk to the park. Ours is too far to walk, but we do try to go. Let's see, now on to day 3 readings. Hope you guys don't mind me looking at my stuff while I'm trying to talk. Okay, she talks about airing out your home. Do you guys air out your homes? I would say it is good to air out your home just because we'd probably be appalled if we know all the germs floating out around in our house all the time. But I think the quality of air in our homes now is probably a lot better than it was then because we have air conditioners. Although not everyone has an air conditioner. We do, but when we moved to Colorado in 2006, that was our very first home, and it did not have an air conditioner. And we're from Texas, and we thought that was like the weirdest thing ever, that our house built in the 70s did not have an AC. But it is real, people. There are people out there who don't have ACs in their house. So we lived without an air conditioner for the first 5 years of our marriage. We lived there for 5 years. So we lived like with our windows open, especially at night. It would get too hot sometimes in the summer during the day, but at night we'd sleep with our windows open even in the winter sometimes because we didn't have an AC and there was like, you're just in like a hot box sometimes. So let's see, some people are talking. I love having the windows and doors open. It's crazy dusty here. Not often, but we have an air purification system. That's nice. Okay. I love having my blinds open. I'm not as good about opening my windows, but I should open them more often. It's just been so hot here. It's been like in the upper 90s every day. Probably the modern version of airing out our home would be the nice air cleaning machines. Forget what they're called. Is that what this person said up here, the air purifier? Air purification system, and I don't even know what that is, so it sounds fancy. We just moved from California to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Air quality outdoors is much better. Oh wow, I bet. That's crazy how different the air is in different places. I grew up in West Texas and it's pretty dry there most of the year, and now we live in East Texas, almost right by the coast, and the difference in air is crazy. Like, it is always hot and sticky outside here. And as soon as you walk outside, if you try to curl your hair or anything, it's like as soon as you step outside. Okay, we covered indoor airings, ventilation, and night air wholesome. She recommends that you open your children's windows at night. I'm not gonna do that, but you can, because we live in 2018 and we don't open our windows at night, we close them. Maybe if you live in the country, then that wouldn't be such a big deal. And we have upstairs right now too, so we don't open the upstairs windows often. We have a rainbow. Is that what you have? I'm assuming you're talking about the air purification system. Okay, sunshine is important too. Vitamin D, we all know, is important. So yes, let the sunshine into your home and take care of their skin. Let them get some sun. We don't use sunscreen, really. Maybe we should, but we don't. But my kids have darker skin than me, and they don't sunburn often. They have before, but they don't sunburn very often. And then good hygiene, of course, is important. May not have been as widely practiced 100 years ago when she wrote this, and maybe that's why. But I think most people take showers nowadays because we have running water in our homes. Okay. And then being aware of any skin sensitivities our kids may have. Like, I have to be careful what laundry detergent we use here because several of my kids and my husband have really sensitive skin. So, anyways, what else? Let me see if I had any important questions for those sections. Do you agree that your children seem better nourished when they've had a good helping of clean, fresh air? Yes. And they've got to sweat a little and gotten some sunshine. Blueberries are excellent for sunscreen. Oh, eating blueberries. I didn't know that. Well, that's good to know. My kids love blueberries. I didn't know that. That's very interesting. So everybody eat your blueberries for skin protection. Okay, so that was kind of the first portion of this week's readings. And I think the whole time I'm reading, like, okay, I know this. But I think she just wanted to start at the very, bare, basic, this is what we should be doing, and build up from there so that she didn't leave any rock unturned. She, started at the very beginning and then felt like she could move forward and get into the more, what we think is the more important things. But all of this stuff is important too. And maybe at the time, it wasn't discussed as much. I don't know, I'm assuming. But of course these habits are important habits to have. And she talks about how, let's see, as Charlotte concludes this section, she points out that she understands readers may feel like she's discussing the lowest round of the educational ladder. But she explains that these basics are important regardless of how often we consider them. And I think she was trying to cover all of her bases. So now that she has talked about this lowest round of education, she explains that these basic principles of orderly and regular processes are to be applied to all of education. And when we can apply these simple habits daily, and get in the habit of these small things that we consider small, but they still should be healthy habits that we have, then we can see how these good habits form the foundation of a thorough and life-giving whole child education. So we're just building on these basic things, which is kind of ingenious to start here and see, I can do that, and this is where we start, and then we just build up from here. And she says we can't, as parents, just rely on our common sense and good intentions. We should be well-informed and acquainted with the natural laws that concern child development. And so she says this is where her methodology and what her book is all about is going to come into play. Let's see. We do it yourself sunblock, but I'm still so bad about it. Yeah, I'm not good at applying it either. I don't think we even own any sunscreen. Does that make me a bad mom? Okay. Okay, so after she gets all of this out of the way, she moves on to this like really meaty, really important stuff about our spiritual lives, and discusses uh, the fact that, she's writing from a Christian perspective, and I don't know how many of my listeners are Christians or not. You don't have to be a Christian to listen, absolutely not. But anyways, this is just the perspective she's writing from. And she says, what a shame that many people who aren't believers can be friendlier, kinder, more loving, more forgiving than some people who are believers and claim to know Jesus. And she was pretty much like, this is awful. And of course, our children are perceptive little people, and they're going to pick up on it too. So how do we explain this to them whenever they're starting to notice these things, that the people who call themselves Christians maybe aren't so nice as the people who aren't? How do we explain that to them? How do we explain that to adults? I mean, I think even a bunch of adults struggle with this. Like, why? Our churches are full of broken people, so of course the church is broken. But anyways, that's a whole nother conversation. But she goes on to explain the phenomenon, as she called it, and she pretty much says, just as the physical world is governed by the unwritten laws of God that we give no second thought to, like gravity, so the mind is governed by unwritten laws of God that we don't have to consider in order to obey. So this quote, I put big brackets around it, but this is what she says. All safety, progress, and success in life come of obedience to law, to the laws of mental, moral, or physical science, or of that spiritual science which the Bible unfolds. It is possible to ascertain laws and keep laws without recognizing the lawgiver, and that those who do ascertain and keep any divine law inherit the blessing due to obedience, whatever be their attitude toward the lawgiver. Just as the man who goes out into blazing sunshine is warmed, though he may shut his eyes and decline to see the sun. So this sounds so much like C.S. Lewis. I don't know if you guys have read any of C.S. Lewis's books, but he talks about this in Mere Christianity, one of the books I mentioned last week. And I mean, he says it almost verbatim. He says that we are born with these unwritten laws in our heart, and like, why does every culture across the planet see something like cowardice as a bad thing? Why? Because it's these unwritten laws in our heart that God put there, and whether we choose to believe that they're put there by God or not is up to them, up to us personally. But these are things to ponder, and one of my questions was, do you feel like her explanation of this phenomenon of the people, unbelievers, maybe being more loving than some believers, does her explanation answer that well enough for you? And to me, I agree with her. You don't have to be a believer to see and appreciate and be under the rule of God's natural laws. I totally requested Mere Christianity from the library after the discussion last week, and I'm secular but love studying religion. Oh, well, good. It is like the most, that I love that book, so I'm so glad you got it, because it will make you think. It made me like, I had to read it really slowly, kind of like this one, because he's just like, he's a genius, and he words things so well, and I think he and Charlotte Mason may have been cut from the same cloth, but I'm glad you got it. I hope you like it. You have to tell me what you think once you read it. Okay, so I was on that section for a while. I'm not done with that section. Okay, so while these principles of the natural world may not help us to understand God in the fullest capacity, like his spiritual laws would, they're still a reflection of his character, because he created them. In neglecting the study and understanding of these things, we hinder our children in more ways than one. So, okay, this one is a serious one for me, because I mentioned last week that there was a time in my life where I was almost agnostic, like pushing my way there and really questioning my faith, because I felt like there was this disconnect between what we were as a society, what we know and understand now scientifically about the world, and the Christian, the Christian acceptance of this understanding of our natural world. And this disconnect really just did not sit well with me. Like, why are we not, I don't know, why are science and religion at odds with one another? Like, to me it didn't make sense, because I think science is fascinating, and I can't explain what I'm trying to say, but I started doing all this digging into science and trying to find Christian scientists who could explain, like, how the Christian religion and science fit together. And I did end up finding, like, Hugh Ross. His website is reasonstobelieve.org, and he is an astronomer, I believe. But yeah, you need to check that one out if you're kind of in the same boat I was in. But that website, and he has lots of videos, and just talks about how science and the Christian religion do match up. They're not at odds with each other like so many people want to say or choose to believe. But like the evolutionary argument, like that's a argument that is still raging today, and the old Earth versus young Earth, and I don't know. I'm getting off on rabbit trails. But I saw a debate between Hugh Ross and another Christian guy that's like, he has his own ministry. I won't say his name. But they were debating, I think the 7 days of creation, whether it was really 7 days or if it was really billions of years. And Hugh Ross is like old Earth believer, and believes that just because it says 7 days, doesn't necessarily means it was exactly 7 days. And it's not blasphemy to theorize that evolution is real. And anyways, this debate was like, the other guy wasn't very nice, but Hugh Ross was very patient, and I appreciated that. Anyways, I'm off topic. Okay, we were talking about, yes, so teaching our kids about the natural world as well as our Christian religion. We can do both of those things. It doesn't have to be one or the other, and it's not blasphemous to learn about science. In my opinion, if you don't feel that way, that's okay. Don't yell at me. Okay, everybody chooses what's best for their family, and that is that. Okay. Oh, this is like the last page of my notes. So she says that this first chapter that we read this past week and the week before, her aim is to lay out for parents these basic principles, and then from here on out, she wants to build on those things to help parents who are reading the book implement a method of education upon these foundations. So she admits that there will be imperfections in her method because she was only human too, but she wants to offer, after her many years of education and teaching children, she put it all in these books for us, and now here we are reading them 100 years later, which I think is pretty amazing. And she says, my endeavor in this and the following volumes of the series will be to sketch out roughly a method of education which, as resting upon a basis of natural law, may look without presumption to inherit the divine blessing. Any sketch I can offer in this short compass must be very imperfect and very incomplete, but a hint here and there may be enough to put intelligent parents on profitable lines of thinking with regard to the education of their children. And that's that. That was the whole of what we read this week. Let me see if I missed any important questions. I think I covered all of my questions while I was blabbering. if you guys have any other comments, let me see if anyone else said anything. Nope, nobody else has said anything. Okay, well, if you guys have any questions or comments, y'all let me know before I finish. Otherwise, I figured this week the discussion would be shorter because most of these things I think are kind of common knowledge now. But if anyone has any comments before I go, otherwise I will go. Okay, well, y'all let me know. You can message me or email me or comment or whatever if you have any questions. Tomorrow I'll try to get the questions for this coming week up. And I'm enjoying talking to you guys. If you want to discuss with me one week, let me know and I will pull your face up here with mine. Otherwise, thank you for doing this again. You're welcome. Thank y'all for joining me. We had about like 12 people max today, but hopefully other people will watch it later. Okay, well, y'all have a good rest of your Sunday. That didn't take too awful long. And I will talk to you guys later. Bye.